Today, I'm so excited and honored to host this fireside chat with my team here at Netlify. So we're going to bring on Laurie and Brian, two of our team members. I'm going to turn it over to them to introduce themselves first. So Laurie, tell us first when you joined Netlify, who you are, what your title is, and what you do at Netlify, and then we'll hear from Brian.
Sure. I'm Laurie, pronouns he, him. I am a senior data analyst here. How that actually shakes out is my job is to plug myself into every stream of data that's running through the company and then turn it into insights mostly for the product team. Find things that are weird, find groups that are growing, find new use cases, find things we should be concerned about or things that we should be happy about, and turn them into actionable insights supported by the rest of the wonderful data team at Netlify.
And Brian, same questions for you.
Hey, everybody. I'm Brian. Most people call me Big Data Brian, and I'm here from Boise, Idaho. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a senior data engineer over here at Netlify. And I just joined at the end of June this year. I do a little bit of everything here involving data, writing a lot of data pipelines, trying to get, I joke around saying I'm the data plumber. And most recently been jumping into DBT and doing a lot of great things with that.
Awesome. Thank you both for the intros. Now we're going to talk a little bit about our team and give you a brief overview. If you were on my session earlier today, you saw my technical difficulties, but I think we're not going to have any right now. So if we can get that screen share going, and we're live. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the data team here at Netlify. And one of the premises of our data team is that data is only valuable when it improves your decisions. Data that just kind of like lives in a box somewhere isn't useful. And that's not what we're going for. The data team here at Netlify exists to empower the entire organization to make the best decisions possible by providing accurate, timely, and useful insights. So this is how we measure our success, not things like new dashboards or petabytes of data in our data ecosystem. It's really what are we able to enable the organization to do. This is what our team looks like. So Brian introduced himself, Laurie introduced himself. We have two wonderful analytics engineers, Fran Lozano and Tom Nagengast, who are both hanging out in DBT Slack right now. So ask them what it's like to work at Netlify. And we're hiring. So I'll make that mention again later, but I just want to say we're hiring. We're looking to add 2 more data analysts to the team. And if you like what we're talking about, if you like this way of working, let's have a conversation. We're all here, whether or not you join Netlify, to elevate the data profession. When we talk about different roles, we think about them a little bit like this. So data engineering, we think of getting data from outside of our ecosystem and moving it into our ecosystem. Analytics engineering is about really readying that data that's within our ecosystem. And then data analysts are helping our business users really leverage that data to make business decisions and drive those insights. And I do want to give a shout out that we stole most of this slide from Huddle. So thanks to the folks over there for contributing to the ecosystem. This is what we're currently building our data infrastructure to look like. PowerPoint, Excel, Google Slides, not my forte, but you get the point here. The general idea is we're using off-the-shelf and custom microservices to move data from outside of our ecosystem into our ecosystem. We use Databricks as our data lakehouse, where we put most of our data into Delta tables. We transform our data with DBT. We use a tool called Transform Data to help KPI governance. Our BI tool is Mode, and we're using Census to help pipe our data back into operational sources like HubSpot, Salesforce, and Zendesk. So with that, let's jump right into Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we go. Brian, Laurie, let's talk a little bit about what it's like to work at Netlify on the data team. So day in, day out, do you want to start by painting a picture? When you wake up and go to work, how do you start your day? Maybe Brian, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll jump in there. Usually I start off the day to see, I kind of wake up to a whole bunch of comments on some PRs, and that's really encouraging just to see some different comments and feedback and getting these DBT models merged into master and into production. That's just a great way to start the day off.
And Laurie, what does that look like for you? You and Brian are in drastically different roles. How does your start of the day look, similar or different?
I would say my day is sort of a lot more spread out. A lot of my job is sort of answering 80-20 questions. My goal is that 80% of the time we should have a relatively quick answer to a question, and 20% of the time it's like, oh, we've never thought of that before and we should dig into it, and we have to build a new pipeline to do it. And so the product team and various other people across the company, finance, support, the execs of various departments will ping me quickly and saying where is this dashboard, or is this number real, that kind of stuff. And I have lots of 5-second answers on those. So I have lots of little itty bitty things like that. And then the other 20% of time is when I'm like, hey, Brian, can you build this for me?
Yeah, I get to see a lot of those "can we build this too" asks come in, and it's always a fun prioritization game. Laurie, one thing you and I have talked about is a transition that's happened in the data team over the last really 6 months, around a transition from an academic style of answering data questions to more engineering and systematic approach. Can you tell our audience a little bit about what that academic approach looked like and what it looks like now, and what you're seeing as the benefits of this change?
Absolutely. I saw actually a question in the chat. Somebody was asking, did everyone in this team join in 2020? Yes, yeah. Everyone in this team joined in 2020. The data team is longer lived than that, but some of the people who were on the data team before that have moved into other parts of the organization and stuff like that. Yeah, but the shift in the last 6 months that Emilie was talking about has been from a focus on answering the specific question from an analysis point of view, just what is the answer to this question, which is, how an academic approaches the question. It's I have started, I have done the work, and here's the conclusion, to more of an engineer's approach to it, which is, someone has asked for this information. The moment I give them the answer, they are going to ask for it every 15 minutes forever. So I may as well turn it into a dashboard. I should build a pipeline. I should make sure that the sources are in place. I should make sure that this thing can run without me. And those are very different approaches from an engineering standpoint. One is much faster to do, but much harder to maintain. And the new one is a lot slower to get started because you have to build the whole pipeline, but significantly faster once it's up and running, because you can just go, there is your dashboard. You don't need to ask me again.
That's awesome. I am a huge proponent of this idea that we need to be building our teams with this product mindset and thinking about scale. So thanks for sharing. Brian, the data engineering side of the team has also gone through a huge transition in the last couple of months. Tell me what pipelines were like and what they're like today, and what's changed around them.
Yeah, when I started here, primarily almost every data pipeline was just a Databricks notebook or a Jupyter notebook. That was really, really hard because there's really no retry logic except trying the entire notebook, running it entirely again from scratch if it breaks. There's no concept of notebook dependencies saying this notebook needs to run, then another one needs to run, or only run this on success, things like that. So everything was time-based. If we had jobs that had dependencies, it was run this at midnight UTC, hope that it gets done in 1 hour, and start the next one at 1 a.m. UTC. That just didn't really sit well with me. And before coming to Netlify, I had some exposure with Airflow. So the first thing that I advocated for was pushing to get Airflow into production and trying it out on my first greenfield project. So with that, we got a lot of benefits. Mainly, we were starting to now build up a library of reusable operators, reusable Python functions. We get dependencies between tasks. We get retries. And I just feel like we have a DAG with DBT. Now we have a DAG with Airflow, and we're kind of able to see at a higher level what's really going on. And it's just a lot easier to onboard people and show them what these data pipelines do.
That's awesome. An engineering discipline is a huge, what's the right word? It's a multiplier really for a team, right? And I think that's what we've seen. Laurie, you're a consumer of this work. What do you think from where you sit?
I mean, I talk about it to other people all the time, that the difference between our current approach and our previous approach is very much night and day for me. It was previously like, okay, I've got this question. I will see you in 3 weeks after I figured out where that notebook is and where that table comes from and why it's broken right now. And now it's just like, okay, we've got that table. It's done. Here you go. I wrote it last week. I've just found it in mode and I don't actually need to do any more work. It doesn't always work out that way, but the percentage of the time that I'm able to just say, oh, we already have that is great. And one of my favorite aspects of being a distributed team is that a lot of that time, that stuff happens like literally overnight. Like I will put in a request and then Fran, who is working in a different time zone, fixes it. And I come in the next morning and it's already done. I'm like, oh, great. The elves have been and they've fixed everything.
You bring up a really great point. So for folks on the call who don't know, we are a distributed team. So the data team at Netlify is remote. We have Fran all the way out in Spain, and we have Laurie and Tom in California, Brian in Idaho, myself in Georgia. So we cover the time zones. What are some of the pros and cons to working this way? Maybe let's start with some of the pain points. Where is this hard, Brian?
So far, I feel like there's very little pain points because we have enough overlap to schedule meetings. I think we have about a 2 or 3 hour window, maybe 3 hours is stretching it, but definitely 2. So we are still able to get paired programming in. We're still able to have a data team with everybody across all time zones. And I kind of prefer it this way because I can go to bed at night and I know that somebody else is going to work on a problem when I'm sleeping. So it's kind of good for on call. Yeah, that's kind of my opinion so far. We've only been a distributed team within data for, I think, a short time here, about a month or so, but I don't want to go back now. I love the distributed mindset here.
And Laurie, what about you? Do you see pain points around this spanning kind of half the globe model?
I think the biggest pain point, and it's not really specific to our team or specific to like data work, is that it means less sort of idle social interaction with your coworkers, right? Like our practical overlap is only a couple of hours a day. So I like talking to Fran, but I hardly ever talk to Fran for fun because I'm like, I've got 60 minutes to get to talk to Fran. I need to get things out of him. So there's I think the pros outweigh the cons, but that's definitely one of the drawbacks. You have to work harder at team bonding.
Oh, I think that's spot on. Scheduling is like one of the hardest parts of remote work across even just few time zones, let alone a lot. Time zone math is the worst. Thank goodness for Google Calendar, because otherwise, I don't know how we'd coordinate all these different time zones. I do have a bookmarked link where I can see what the time is for anyone on the team. And if you're managing a distributed team, I also suggest that. I'm going to turn it over now to the chat. We've got some really great questions coming in. So Janessa asks, we're all newish to the team. I should have calculated our average tenure, but it's definitely under 100 days. We're building new ways of working together. What do you want to get right on this team that has felt wrong to you on other data teams you've been a member of? So maybe let's start with, what does the existing workflow around the team look like? And then either of you can answer that question.
All right, Laurie, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, I think we've sort of already covered it. I think the biggest difference between this team and previous teams that I've either been on or spoken to is how much more engineering focused we are. This is the first team I've been on that we've used DBT, and like DBT sort of by itself brings a lot more engineering rigor to the practice. Like Brian was saying, the thing that we want to avoid is like, this shell script depends, must finish by 1 a.m. So the shell script that begins at 1:15 a.m. can start that's been a really common practice across, every company in the world, right? Like that's why everyone in the chat is groaning when we talk about it. So I feel like we've already we've already got that one out of the way, is approaching it as more of an engineering discipline and less of a just get some kind of answer out the other end.
Brian, anything to add there?
Yeah, I think previous teams, it's been really like all business at a meeting. I had these 15-minute or 30-minute stand-ups that were useless at previous jobs. And once I was done with that stand-up, I didn't talk to a human soul the rest of the day. Being an extroverted engineer, that was really difficult to me. And when I came to Netlify, the culture here inside the data team, as well as just overall, is to make room for that social interaction. We have these engineering meetings that are kind of short, give an update of how the company is doing engineering wise, a few big things, and then we actually turn it over into these breakout meetings and just talk to people across the department. And that's just been like a breath of fresh air. And I think we are starting to take that culture and make it our own in the data team. We'll often have our weekly meetings every Monday, try to set the priority and talk about things that really need to be addressed. And then usually we'll get into something off topic, like buying a freezer and trying to talk about the pros and cons of a stand-up freezer or a chest freezer. So it's just good to have a laugh like that. I think it's good team bonding, just to not, you can be professional, but you don't have to always be serious. And I like that that's part of our culture here.
So 80-20 question for you, Laurie. What % of the data team meetings over the last couple of weeks have been spent discussing chest freezers?
I'm going to say it's not ridiculous, but it is more than you'd expect. I would say 20% across the last month, is our percentage of chest freezer discussion time. It's been substantial.
It has been substantial. Thank you. Okay, we're coming up on the end here. So a quick rapid fire question for you, Brian. You touched on this. Adam asks, what's the meeting cadence like on a team as distributed as ours?
Yeah, I think right now we definitely have a weekly meeting. Generally, we try to keep it 30 minutes on Mondays. And that's just to get everyone on the same page of what everyone's working on, and then to address anything where we need that input. And it's just going to be way more effective to get on a call and discuss some ideas synchronously. And everything else is really done async. If there's topics that we get into that we know are going to be a bit longer, I think last week or the week before, we had a separate meeting called like State of the Data World. And we just had to talk about how we wanted to address best practices, how we wanted to tackle loading different data sets, and almost put that into like a playbook or a handbook of here's these common problems and here's how we want to tackle them. That deserved its own time, its own meeting. So we definitely tried to carve out some time for those more specialized meetings. But in general, it's just kind of once a week, and then everything else async in Slack.
Thanks for that, Brian. And Laurie, rapid fire last question for you. What is it about data at Netlify that's so exciting?
Oh, that one's very easy. I am a web developer. I've been a web developer my entire life. So 24 years of being a web developer at this point. And Netlify is very clearly at the vanguard of how people build websites in 2020. So the company is just full of people who really like websites. And those people are my people. So I really like working here because, everyone's just very excited about how is that done? Tell me about this JavaScript thing. Tell me about that trick with SVG. Tell me how you got, accessibility to be so good. Let's fix the, color contrast in the design. Everyone just thinks about the web a lot. And so doing data in the service of something that I care so much about just makes the job a lot easier.
Brian, anything to add there? What is it about Netlify data that's exciting to you?
I could say all the cool technical things we're doing. I'll save that because that technology can come and go. I really think it's the people and the excitement. That's what really attracted me. Was during my interviews, I had kind of gun shyness of jumping ship, and just gun shyness of who's going to really be my manager, and are we going to get along? Am I going to get along with my coworkers? So I even asked for a second interview just to say, I want to talk to the people I'll be working with, and like, let me just get my PTSD out of the way. And I came back after that meeting, like 110%, just so excited to start with Netlify. So yeah, it just boils down to the people here and the culture.
Yeah. If it's okay, I'm going to jump in with my own version of an answer here, which is that the people I work with are really incredible. The team we're building is really incredible. And being able to do that at an organization that really cares about data is, again, incredible. So I'm really excited about what we're doing. We get to use cutting edge technology like BT, and we're excited to be parts of the community. So a big thank you to Fishtown, to DBT, to the community members for letting us be a part of this special day 2 of the first ever Coalesce. And a big shout out to our super energetic host, Erica, who has been there all day long, helping us keep these trains running. So big claps to Erica, and I hope everyone gives her shout outs in the chat. Thank you, Erica.